Ever since I've been diving into astrology and learning about natal charts, it has been such a interesting journey, to the point where the more I dive deep into things, the more I just know that I don't know anything, because this universe is such a mystery. And how I got into astrology, I had went for a reading up in Salem, Massachusetts, and this lady who did my reading, she said some things that was really intriguing. And this was last year, back in August. When I left that place, I didn't really look into it until about 3 months ago. So 3 months ago was when I really started diving deep into astrology. And I don't know if you believe in this stuff, but for me, when it comes to the unseen world, I really do feel like there are things like spirit guides who really be trying to help us out, and they be trying to send us messages. And it's up to you whether you want to receive it or not, if you believe in it, if you are even open to it. And me, I'm open to receiving messages. And ever since I've been diving into astrology for like 3 months now, I have been receiving like messages. And over the past 2 weeks, the message that I've received, it was more like smacked in my face, um, was pretty wild, because turns out I have a synchronicity type of message between mine and Beyonce's chart, which is pretty wild because I'm not really into celebrity stuff. I don't really look into celebrities um until this happened. So if you're into decoding stuff and diving into astrology, if you're even into like celebrity natal charts, because um certain things are just too much to be a coincidence when you look into certain people's natal charts. So if you're into all of that, you will be into this video. Before I get into the whole shebang bang, okay, what is a synchronicity, and what is the difference between that and karmic? Because you have synchronicity messages and then you have karmic. So when it comes to natal charts in particular, just for the sake of this video, when it comes to natal charts, synchronicities is like, it's not permanent. It's just a message passing through. It's like a wink from the cosmos. It's a message that was meant for you in this moment, versus karmic, where it's more of a imprint. So you will find karmic relationships more with like certain families and friends, and anybody passing through, even coworkers or whatever, mentors. That would be more of a karmic type of situation. And even though some people might not stay in your life, like friends, they, come and go and stuff like that, there is something that they leave in your aura that is such a life changing situation. So even if people come into your life and it's a karmic relationship, it doesn't always mean that it's a lifetime of a relationship. But it does leave more of an imprint, versus a synchronicity that, it's a message for just in the moment. It is not something that is a imprint, no karmic relationship, none of that. So how did I come across this? How did I went down a whole rabbit hole between mine and Beyonce's natal chart? So what happened was, about over a week ago. So I am a writer and I write a lot of dark books and stuff like that. And I have one published so far. And even though I have been gaining a audience and people have been enjoying my book, it takes a toll. It takes such a toll, because when you're writing deep stuff, which I write a lot of deep stuff, it can get draining and the process can be, overwhelming. So I was thinking about just taking the easy route for now. Like, let me start writing some simple stuff. I don't know, some happy type of stories, some more erotica stuff. I don't know, something that is just easy going. Um, and taking a break from all this deep stuff. I've been writing deep things ever since I was little. I never knew why until I started diving into my natal chart, but I used to write a lot of like dark poetry and whatnot. Um, so yeah, I was planning on taking the easy way out. And ever since I had made that thought up in my mind, the very same night I saw a white spider. Now, what this white spider's got to do with all of this? Trust me, I'm going somewhere. So I was in the shower. I saw a white spider climbing down my shampoo bottle. I'm like, oh no, get that out of here. It wasn't even a small one. It was like pretty big, okay? And I barely see white spiders. Um, so that was one. The very next day, another white spider shows up while I'm like brushing my teeth. What the heck? Get that out of here. It's way too big and it's distracting. And the next day, here comes another white spider as I'm doing the dishes. I'm like, and then the following day, no, just the very next day after that, I'm working out, another white spider just climbing on the ceiling. Every day there was a white spider showing up, which is a rare phenomenon in my case because since when do I see white spiders like this back to back? I'm like, what is going on here? Um, and I'm not the type to look into the meaning of insects and animals, but this was too much. And I was just like, let me see something. So when I looked into white spiders, it means purity, good omen, creativeness. Be careful with your creative work because somebody will try to steal it, stuff like that. It also means patience, persistence, weaving destiny, all of that. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, I get it. I need to be more patient because in my chart, which the lady in Salem was talking to me about, the lady who gave my reading, um, when she looked at my chart, she was excited. And at the time, I didn't know why she was excited. She was all like tweedling with her thumbs, and she was just trying to tell me to stay patient. And it had to do with my career path. Like, it's going to be a climb, but once it sets off, it's going to go really fast, and you're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm like, okay. So my whole theme is to just be patient with my craft and mastery. So I'm like, all right. Then maybe one of those same days as I've seen the white spider, I'm sitting down and I'm watching a YouTuber who is a fan of Beyonce, and he had bought one of her tour books. Now I'm not into celebrity stuff, but what is intriguing is the fans because I'm not the type to really be all obsessed with celebrities because at the end of the day they're people. So I'm usually intrigued by the fans, like what is it that got you so hypnotized? So I clicked on this video and he was going through her book, and out of nowhere he flips the page and bam, her whole birth certificate. Even though certain things are blurred out, certain things are visible. And I'm like, whoa, why would she do that? For years, people been trying to figure out her whole natal chart because they never knew of her rising sign. And, that was never confirmed up until now, which is such divine timing for myself. And as I, took a pause and looked at her birth chart, because I was just like, whoa, why would she do that? I saw that she was born at 9:47 p.m. I was like, wait a minute. I was born at 9:47 a.m. So it's a flip of the skies. And I'm like, wait. And with the spiders showing up and that popping up out of nowhere, which I was not looking for, I was just intrigued by the fan. And seeing that she was born at 9:47 and I was born at 9:47, but just the opposite skies, I was like, okay, let me look into this. Starting with 947, and I'm not the type to really be looking into numbers like that. It's like the message has to be showed up to me. I just can't be looking for numbers because that's not how it works. So when it starts showing up in your life, it's like, okay, what does this mean? So I looked into 947. Nine is, first of all, nine is my life path number. And nine is completion, fulfillment, getting ready for the next phase of life, wisdom, endings, all of that. Interesting. Four is structure. It means structure. And I'm like, okay, that's something that my chart has been telling me to have structure, discipline, and patience. And with Beyonce's career, you can see that she is really structured and she's a master at her craft. All right. And then seven is spiritual awareness, which is another core theme of mine and Beyonce's chart. And if you add all of that up, like a cultist, somebody that likes to decode stuff, 947, break it down to two, it means divine alignment and harmony, which I'm like, this is divine timing right now. And both of our charts is like in harmony, but like flipped. So what I noticed, because this is too personal to be diving into somebody's chart like that, so I don't know why she put her business out there, but for the sake of the messages that were showing up in my life in that moment, I noticed certain things of our chart that is a mirror, and it's between our moon, our sixth house, our seventh house, our Saturn, the way it's placed, and both of our Liliths, and our rising and moon. So I'm about to get into all of that. So starting with our moons. So both of our moons is in Scorpio, and what's so interesting about this is that mine is at 0 degrees and hers is at 26 degrees. So it's like mine's is the beginning type of energy, hers is towards the end. It's the same language, but on different sides of the stages. And when it comes to that, I find that really interesting because Scorpio moon is very deep, intense, loyal, emotional, and we thrive on the dark side of the moon, and we are very curious of what the darker nature of life. It's not an evil type of thing. It's just that you can learn a lot from that side. You could find a lot of truth in pain. So knowing that deep intensity with Beyonce, which she's a public, image celebrity, with that type of deep intense, and to keep that bottled up because this shows in her chart. Ooh, I don't even want to know what that's like with all that deep intense energy that you have to keep inside. And the more that I've dug deep into our charts and our placements, it made more sense why I've been the way that I've been ever since I was little, with the whole writing dark poetry and stuff like that. My Scorpio moon is at 0 degrees, and in my chart, it's like I'm being called to let this all out while she keeps it all in. And I'll explain more of that as I continue with this breakdown. So, with our sixth house in our chart, so the sixth house, it has to do with your everyday life and how you conduct yourself, basically. And mine is in Libra. So, my sixth house is in Libra, and I have my Scorpio moon in there, and I have my Jupiter. And my Jupiter is in retrograde. So when I was born, Jupiter was in retrograde at that time. So with that, it's like everything that I do is very gracious and beauty. Libra is ruled by Venus, so it's like from the outside looking in, it looks like I have everything put together. And I noticed that too with everybody in my life. It's like everyone thinks that I got everything put together. And it's like, wait, I'm not there yet. So, I could be in pain and people would think that I'm just fine. And it's the way that my sixth house is set up. I do everything very graceful and stuff like that. I take care of myself. I work out all the time. I eat good. Um, I am my own motivator. Everything that I do is internal work with my Scorpio moon and my Jupiter in retrograde. So, Jupiter is a planet of expansion, and when it's in retrograde, it's expansive, but it happens internal before it like bursts out. So, with that placement, it's like I have no help. Everything is inner willpower. Versus Beyonce sixth house, which has so many planets in there. It's like she has oh, her sixth house is in Virgo, but she has all like Libra planet placements. So her Venus, her Pluto, her Saturn is in there, her Mercury's in there. Um, am I forgetting anything else? That might be about it, but she does have so many planets in her chart, which makes sense because she was, even though she's very talented and you can't take nothing away from her talent, she was groomed into what she is now. She had a lot of outer support, which is the opposite from me, where everything I do is my willpower. Not saying that she doesn't have that, but there's nobody helping me with my journey. I have to do everything myself. I am my own motivator versus her having all of that support that helped her to get to where she is now, which there's nothing wrong on both sides of the fields. Both has its pros and cons. So you definitely can't take away from her journey or mine's with that. Both has its pros and cons. Oh, and her Jupiter is in the sixth house as well. So she has all these placements in her sixth house, and her Jupiter is not in retrograde versus mine, which is in retrograde. So to have both of our Jupiters in the sixth house, but mine's is in retrograde and hers isn't, is definitely like a flip. And with that being said, going into our Saturn placements and how it goes hand in hand with our midheaven. So she has her Saturn in the sixth house, which is in Libra. And with her Capricorn placement in her 10th house, Capricorn is a earth grounded energy. So to have that go hand in hand with the Saturn placement, she was definitely destined to have a long-term career, and not only that, be a master at her craft, because with that Saturn placement in her sixth house, with all that outer help and that discipline, with her midheaven with Capricorn, Saturn in a grounded energy when it comes to careers, it works really well because it's long-term success versus mine's, which is long-term. And this is the whole slow climb the lady in Salem, Massachusetts was telling me about. So my Saturn is in Pisces, which is in the 11th house with my Venus and my Sun. And it deals with spirituality, and it's a long-term mastery, and it's a climb. It's a climb. But like the lady said, once it goes up and it takes off, it's gonna go really fast for me. Um, so I have to master my craft because when it takes off, I better be prepared. Um, that was the message that I got in back in Salem, and also when I was diving into my natal chart. And with between mine and Beyonce's, it's definitely flipped because hers was early success and mastery. Mine's is the opposite, um, slow climb, but also still mastery and long term success. Now, with that, I definitely took a lot from that, and it goes back to the messages of the spiders that I was talking about earlier, where it's about weaving destiny, persistence, patience, all of that, creativity. What I got from Hard Chart is to stay persistent, stay um, with the weaving of the destiny, and do not take the easier route. Stick to what your sole purpose is. And since hers is shown on the outside versus mine, which is more on the inside work, I'm like, oh, okay, I see how the messages is all aligning perfectly. However, it goes even deeper into this understanding. So, with our sixth and seventh house, it goes hand in hand and is also flipped. So, her seventh house is in Libra, and she has her moon, her Uranus, and her Lilith there, which is in Scorpio. And with the Lilith is that type of energy that is your power, but it's also an energy that you suppress. And what is crazy is what is shown in that aspect of her life. Now, the seventh house deals with relationships and all that. It's like she has to suppress her deep emotions and that intensity. She has to sacrifice that for her public image. So that is what is shown in her seventh house versus my seventh house, which has my North Node and my Pluto in there. And my seventh house is in Scorpio, and my planets in that house is also in Scorpio. I am being called forth to bring this energy out. And it's interesting how with my sixth house, which is that inner working, versus her sixth house, which is the outer help, with her seventh house in Libra, it's suppressed. And with my seventh house in Scorpio, it's being called to open the F up. So that's pretty interesting. And then also with my Lilith, I have a Lilith in the 12th house of Aries. And to have a hidden suppressed power in your 12th house, the 12th house is the hidden house. It's like having a secret room that nobody knows about but you. And on top of that, you have something even more secret lying in that room, and it's destined to break out. So I have this inner Lilith Aries energy destined to burst out. And what's crazy is I have no fire in all of my 12 houses. No fire energy. The Lilith Aries is the only fire in all of my 12 houses. And around this time, I've been wanting to look into other people's charts to see why they're so outgoing, to look at their fire placements, just to study. So it's so funny when Beyoncé put out her birth chart, well, her birth time and all that. People are so surprised that she's an Aries. And I'm like, oh, what a coincidence. I've been meaning to look at a chart with like fire placements. And hers is her rising sign. So she has her Aries and her rising sign. And her Aries is in 0 degrees. And I'm like, oh, I see the flip with our Liliths and our rising and moon. So to make this make sense, it's like with my Lilith, I need that fire energy. And that's what dominates her chart, her Aries in 0 degrees in her rising sign. With her chart, she needs to let out that deep emotion, the darkness, whatever she's keeping and held in. But with my chart, with my moon in 0 degrees, I dominate that world that she keeps suppressed. Mine's is being called to open versus her Aries, which is very dominant, versus my lack of fire, which I need. So it's really interesting how all of that plays out. So with me trying to take a break from all this deep, dark writing and instead writing something more easygoing, it's like the message for me was no, you are meant to write deep, dark stuff and letting all of this out into the world. And this is something that must be mastered over time and long-term success and blah, 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 blah. And it's crazy how all of this has happened within the past couple of weeks, because I don't know if it is right now, But when it comes to the weather of the cosmos, Jupiter was in Gemini, or it still is in Gemini. And with that, that is all about um bigger expansion with like wisdom and stuff like that. And also Saturn is in Pisces. And my Saturn is in Pisces. So it's like my return in my Saturn, the reflection of myself. And then also to Mercury is in retrograde, and that deals with being called to look within. So all of those thoughts that I was having as the planets were doing this thing that they do with all of this energy, everything was such indirect timing. So it's really interesting. And if you're someone that is into this stuff, it'll make sense. I know to people who are not really into this stuff, it's like, what are you saying? It's very calculated. It's very confusing if you're not into this stuff. You're just like, you're saying a bunch of jibber jabber. What does this all mean? But breaking this down was needed. And I wanted to record this too, just so I can look back at this message. So that was my synchronicity moment with Beyonce's natal charts. And yeah,